So welcome to DNM with Jasmine, a podcast where I have deep and meaningful conversations with my guests. And the guest I have today, I have to tell you, all my listeners, I am super impressed with her. She is one of the kindest, most hardworking people that I've met in my cohort. And I'm really excited to have a conversation with her because, believe it or not, we've never actually sat down and had a proper conversation. So, this is the first time for me. So, welcome, Pan. And thank you so much for doing this. How are you, Pan?
I'm good. Could be better.
Yeah. So, Pan, I'm gonna let you just talk a little bit about yourself and please introduce yourself to my listeners so that they can connect with you in a much more deeper and a meaningful way.
Sure. So I come from sunny Singapore. We have no seasons there, mainly summer all year round. Too hot and too humid. Uh, what else about me? My family came here with me, my husband and my twin boys. Then I brought my cat along because the husband said so. It's his comfort animal more than mine. But I'm the health practitioner for my cat. Then for the twin boys, right, they're growing up too fast. So during our discussion, we had like 4 pathways whether I should come alone, they should come together, or not. Then in the end, my husband surprised me by saying that let's all go together. Because I was all for it, but he was quite uncomfortable with the idea of migrating to a whole new country altogether. Even though we speak English, our English is quite different from the English here, the way we sound and the way we think. So it was quite a brave step for him. While the kids themselves, it was a big adjustments, but thankfully because they're only 6 years old each, it was much more, they are much more adaptable at that age, and it was an easier transition than we think.
How old are they?
6 years old, identical twins.
They're lovely. I've seen the pictures and they're lovely. Yeah. And I love how your husband was, brave enough to uproot his career and, just come here with you, with the kids and the cat. So, yeah, if you're listening, and I hope he's listening, I'm really proud of you for doing that. So, we're together in the MPH cohort, and this is a rigorous 11, it's not even 11 months, it's 10-month program. And it just gets to you, you know. So how has that transition been going for you? Because the coursework is a lot.
Yes.
And on top of that, yes, family does help, but then there are other responsibilities as well. So how is it going for you?
So I came mentally prepared because I think my work in the last 10 years in Singapore has been kind of actually more rigorous and more intensive than the MPH program. I worked in food safety. Before that, about 10 years worth of work, I dealt with stray animal management, public service. Basically, you name it, I've kind of tried it in terms of the public service and government work. Then it takes a toll on you, especially fighting burnout after the 5 to 10 year mark. So then, although this program is rigorous, I wanted to renew myself and rediscover myself. So it's been like this every day, a small mini journey of rediscovering and renewing my mind, and to, in a way, put aside whatever I'm used to, whatever I've learned, to unlearn and relearn. Every day has been like this, and I think in between we have 1 or 2 day breaks. I have 1 or 2 occasions so far that I managed to sit down and reflect a little about it, but not enough, as you mentioned. Then the daily balancing, right? I think it's a little bit about some days there'll be almost like all time given for school, but some days, if something else crops up, I go along with that and then make up for whatever needs to be done later. Then in summer term, I think one revelation that came to me that helped to me to manage the time and cope with the task was I opened my fridge. I'm always cooking daily. Tonight's dinner plus tomorrow lunches, sometimes tomorrow's breakfast as well, depending on the kids and what they eat. Then when I open my fridge, it's always full. So I realized this is a bit like my schoolwork. I always have a backlog of things to do and another never-ending list of things to do. But having a constant supply waiting to be eaten of food in the fridge isn't too bad.
Absolutely.
Keeps us occupied, and then I can plan around it, like first in, first out, or which food ingredients I want to try based on my mood tonight. So then I started to leave myself a bit outside whatever Hopkins was trying to narrow our minds into. Because one thing I find in our program is if we keep looking at ourselves and our cost plus, we get sucked into this kind of like I'm a hamster on a wheel. forever chasing, trying to
Yeah.
finish and everything, finish and complete assignments on time, if not early, or if not, remember to ask for extensions. Then there's this
Yeah.
never-ending list of like trying to continue with the race. And it burns us
Yeah.
out almost daily if we keep thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I hear you completely. I feel smartest people in public health, in medicine, are here at this school, and it is daunting because everybody has such different like area of interests, and they're doing such amazing work at it. But there's also a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves.
Mm.
And you mentioned doing a lot of work in your career up until now. So I really want to dig deep into that and get to know you a little bit better through your career lens as well. So paint me a picture. What was Pan like in school and college, and then what happened that you think this course is easy?
uh, wow. Thank you for asking that. I'm trying to recall back. So this course isn't that easy. I think what's different is that it brings life and more joy than being draining and burning out at work. And one driver who picked me up laughed because I was mentioning that yes, I don't like to work, hence I'm here in school. So sometimes it was a little bit more of a like, it wasn't a very nice place that I'm leaving. That's why this is more refreshing and it's
Mm,
very rigorous as well. But it makes sense and there's a bit more meaning in the day to day that we work hard for. In my work, a lot of times you have to work with frustrating stakeholders, manage people who don't feel the same and they don't put in their legwork. Then you have to manage staff as well. So a lot of these usually are maybe one step forward, 3 steps back. After 5 to 10 years of this cha-chaing, it gets really tiring. So
yeah,
that's reality versus school. Whereas
yeah,
in school, we are more or less applying the best practices, the best knowledges into our assignments. We
yeah,
are kind of sheltered from the reality of working with some of the other people they may not have encountered in school.
yeah.
The workplaces are quite different and can be quite dog eat dog world.
I hear that. Yeah. But going back to the question, the school going Pan,
Mm.
and how did this career and public health dawn upon you? What was the journey like for you?
Do you mind repeating again?
Yeah. So I'm asking you, in school, either you're into maths or sciences and all of those things.
Okay, the
Uh,
earlier school.
so from the Pan who was in school to the Pan who is now,
Mm-hmm.
who has kids who are in school. So how has that journey been like for you?
I think a lot of ups and downs. So if
Mm.
we start from maybe secondary school, I was always on the go. I realize now looking back, if I didn't have classes, I would be with friends playing or having these what we call core curricular activities.
Right.
I was in the Chinese orchestra that would play this string instrument that's a bit like the violin or viola here, but it's the Chinese version.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturdays. And then we'll have the Animal Welfare Society that my friend started. We would go around with the animal welfare groups and help to rescue some of the cats, feed them, dogs as well, walk them, and we would also perform at like some of the community areas for our music.
So you have been an overachiever since your childhood.
I don't think it's an achievement, but it's more like, okay, one auntie back home, right, this heard my story and she was saying that you are one of those, they quite capo, like curious person who just plug
Mm,
themselves into anything and everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then it takes a lot of balance and again bravery to try new things and just believe in yourself and I'm gonna be okay. And let me try some new things and being intentional about it. So yeah, that's amazing. The other thing that I want to dig deep into is the curious nature that you have, Pan.
Mm.
Please tell me more about it because I have to tell my listeners that we are in a couple of classes together, and the most part of the learning is happening outside the classroom. And we're all working together, doing the homeworks and the assignments together as group. And if you have a question, within seconds, Pan will send you a link from the web. She will send you an article. She will send you the screenshot of the lecture. She will tell you exactly what the professor said. And you have not even finished your question, and Pan has everything written for you. So please help me understand, how many computers do you have, and how many people have you employed to do this work for you? Because it's almost like you're superhuman. So
I never saw it in that light. Thanks for
it,
asking and sharing that perspective. So I think we have great classmates who add on as well. It's not just me, and they really help illuminate some of the things that wasn't clear as well myself. So I got
Mhm.
clarified after their sharing, and very thankful for them as well for that. For myself, I think it came from work again actually. So in the last maybe 5 years, we often have large operations. For example, we will have like a big religious event annually in Singapore, where 2 to 4 thousand sheep will be imported from various countries, and they are on for korban, if you heard of that. It is a religious halal slaughter that the Muslim community will practice.
Mhm.
We've been trying to shift them towards at least not needing to have the animal life in Singapore, but
Mhm.
to go for their practices virtually, so that they can minimize the transport stress. But during the
Mhm.
2 to 4 thousand animals event, there will be like a bit like an ops command structure, where we have like teams of inspectors being deployed out, 800 to 1,000 messages within overnight, and all of them need to be monitored and summarized into a very short situation report. So
Mhm.
things like that. And previously, when working with stray animal management, I will receive maybe 3 to 500 emails a day. 1 to 200 of them are like lost animals with very clear description about are they how do the lost animal look like. And these are very very worried pet owners who are very concerned if their animal might have gotten lost and got impounded by the government. So
Mhm.
then I'll make sure to check and that we have or have not the animal, because what we also want on our end is to match and reunite any lost animals we have in the facility with its owner
Mhm.
or caregiver. So then having this kind of response and the need from the community and the pet owner help me to respond quickly and match quickly as well the information. Like they have a stray cat tabby orange color from this location, response to what look like who. I kind of have to remember the animals I have in my facility and quickly do a match. There are a few hundreds per day. Some of them they get anxious, they keep sending the emails a few times as well. So if you don't respond fast enough, it builds up.
The work that you put in and the effort that you're doing, I'm blown away with this. What I'm curious about is, where did food safety come from in this career? Because I feel you can do multiple things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's curious that I'm curious to know, how are they related, and what inspired you? What's the story behind that?
Thanks. I realized I haven't answered the previous one as well because I wanted to share with you. I have only one computer. It's just a tool. But it's the thinking process from the previous training that helped a little to respond. And it also
Mhm.
helped a little to hopefully, I'm still trying to improve it, hopefully, but prioritize them, like which is the one that's most concerning.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's not about what I need, what I want. Sometimes it's about the other person. But
Yeah.
sometimes I also need my own space and time. Then I need to detach myself from it and catch
Yeah.
a breather, then go back to that.
Mhm.
So from the stray animal management part, normally because I was on scholarship for my veterinary medicine studies, that's
Mhm.
after the secondary school and the junior college.
Right.
It started from secondary school that the interest in animals formed, and it just became stronger over time. But after studying vet medicine, I will have to work at least 6 years for them. So in the public service, when they provide you for your studies and you have to serve a 6 year bond, most agencies will rotate you to another area of work in 3 to 4 years time. I was overdue
Mhm.
a little at about 5 years mark. Then that's why they moved me to ask whether I want to work with wildlife, quarantine, import and export animals, or food related.
Ah, okay.
I had a bit of too much and enough of animals at that time. So, and I like food. So let's try for that. Then I got into
Okay.
the food establishment regulation group. They essentially look at regulating factories, slaughterhouses. So from like the supply chain, from the local food factories to just before retail. The ones at retail was taken care of by another agency. Whenever we chop these things up like this, right, it just means
Right.
you need to talk a lot across government agencies, and
Mhm.
often there isn't enough communication. But that's why we
Right.
learn about governance, about intergovernment or agency collaboration and partnerships, and then how do we form policies and review of regulations to close those gaps. So for example, there's always a cat fight going around between like, this is retail, you take care of it. No, this is factory, you take care of that. There's a lot of back and forth between people and between agencies.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm understanding where the public health aspect has come into play in your career, and I can also relate systems thinking to it. So sorry for my listeners who are not interested in public health, but we are. So yeah, just enlightening everyone. Um, so one part of the conversation that I'm interested in learning about is Singapore. So you are born and raised in Singapore.
Yes.
And what is the academic culture like there?
So in the last 10 to 20 years, in fact, I will start earlier than that. We were like numbers in the economy, they call it. Everyone's just struggling to get the 5 freedoms up, like the basic needs: housing, enough money, enough food to eat, enough other security. Then that's where education wasn't as great. Like my grandparents and parents would have maybe stopped at primary school, then secondary school. I'm in the 80s, like I think between X and Y. So that around that period onwards, they started becoming more academically inclined. They were using the words called meritocracy. Essentially, everyone's trying to do their best in terms of results and according to that system. And the 5 C's was coined back then. Like, you are deemed successful if you have a lot of cash, a condominium, you belong to a country club, and then there are 2 other C's. So it was very financially and materialistic inclined at that point. But in the last 5 to 10 years, they've softened it and tried to change it as a growing nation or developing to almost developed nation. They started changing the education system to talk about centers of excellence, regardless of where depending on interest, depending on where your interests lie. Go for it and excel in it.
I love that. So it has changed in the last 10 years, like you said, right? So I think from your school up until your higher education, you've seen that transition happen. And how much do you think it is related to who you are today and how you're doing in your career?
I think they started changing it after I kind of left the system because I've been working for 10 years. I'm hoping to see it happen during my kids' time now. When I was going through it, it was the academically inclined system. I have seen a lot of friends struggle, and I spend more time going through with them trying to survive it. Because every time whenever there's a class of 40 people, there'll be 2 or 3 who goes into depression. Somehow or another, 1 or 2 maybe end up in my social circle. And we'll be banging on doors, trying to reach out to him or her. And every other time we try to leave that classmate out of it, it goes back down in a spiral. But the 10, 20 years ago, Singapore wasn't very prepared in terms of understanding mental health and seeing it as a public health problem. Now it's a lot more socially acceptable. There are helplines, there are news articles published about such statistics. So for example, I have met other Singaporeans in the DMV region. They were very surprised to see that I could share news articles with them in the last 5 to 10 years that showed suicide rates in Singapore, that showed certain crimes and certain social problems in Singapore that would never have been published in the past. There's a lot more transparency, although coming from an Asian background, there's still quite a bit of political and news media related censorship. But they have they have been loosening a little, bit by bit. So as a result, I think we are still a growing nation. We're trying to balance the need for sharing of knowledge, but at the same time censoring and protecting and caring for the citizens such that they don't get confused or tempted by the dark side to some extent. Some of my friends like that. Some of my more of the older generation, they like this security, they like this being sheltered. But the younger, newer ones who have access to such details and articles and information anyway, just finds it stifling. Then there's two growing schools of thought camps who are now speaking more vocally in social media about it as well. In the last 20 years, these comments wouldn't have made it into social media. It would have been in coffee shops. They have a cup of coffee and rant about it and then go home. Then the days goes like as usual. They just need to unbottle and let it out. Then the older generation will have been fine and moved on. I think because they saw how the nation struggled against all odds and survived. But we and the newer generation, we haven't had that background history. We came into a very nice, peaceful, stable and kind of semi-wealthy, or we give that kind of wealthy perception nation with nothing much to worry about, then the younger generation starts seeing like, why can't we do all these different things and why can't we try all those other things? They may not appreciate the so-called well intentions of sheltering them from it. We're at this crossroads now, I feel.
Yeah, I hear that. And I think there's almost like a parallel to the education system that you were a part of growing up, and the education system you're a part of now, which is going to be shared by your children as well.
Yes.
And I think it's amazing that we get to study in this era, because growing up, I don't know if this is an Asian thing or not, but how much do you think that the pressure comes from culture that we grew up with? What are your thoughts about that?
Quite a bit actually. I didn't realize so much until a few friends were chatting about it with me as well. For example, those friends who shared, right? Their kids have lived here, and social media has become such a norm that the kids here who are now in their 10s, 20s, they would not dare to act in a production in a certain role because someone might film it and it gets misconstrued on media and that person's life's ruined. This is a young person, 10 to 20 years old. Fortunately, my kids are 6 years old. They just play the fool and they're fine. But I realized that they are going into such a generation, such a culture as well. So previously, when we were younger, right, in the 80s, 90s, I would say more pressure came from parents to put on the child to excel. So during my time, my parents would say, you got to study hard so you don't end up like a road sweeper or one of those unglamorous jobs or low paying jobs. Now, I don't hear so much of that. It's the other side of the coin where more people are saying that the generation here, because there are so few kids per family, in the past there's maybe 5 to 10 children per parent. Now it's maybe 1 to 2. Some of them are not having kids as well. Singapore has one of the lowest total fertility rate of about 1.2.
Yes,
in the
it
world.
has decreased tremendously.
The government keep throwing money for us to have more, but they don't realize it's not just about the financial parts to take care of a child. It's the total well-being of the child. It's so complicated now. So that's why I think culture has a lot more influence than we think. Now, I hear that kids are having a lot more pressure on themselves. Even if they don't, it's the peer pressure. It starts from even like much younger now than primary school. So, for example, my kids, I think because they're asked to grow up very fast now. They're thinking and asking why and are asked to form opinions a lot younger now, whereas last time we will be asked to follow, be instructed, and follow instructions and obey. So with this different thinking set, you get
Wow. Yes. Yes.
very different output, a very different personality as well.
Yeah. There's so much information out there. There's too much information. And it's this zest of putting yourself out there as well. And we are lacking boundaries with that because we're not being taught the sense of boundaries. Even if I'll talk about myself in this, you see someone traveling and the sense of competition comes, and I'm just thinking, oh wow, I'm almost 30 and I don't know why I feel envy for my friend who I love, and I'm happy she is traveling, but oh my god, I do feel envy. And then I'm thinking,
I feel you.
Yeah, what impact is going on these kids, because they've not seen life, but they are exposed to the same content that we are. So they are very vulnerable to all the information that surrounds them.
Indeed.
And as a parent, I really want to know, how does that make you feel, and if you have any thoughts about it.
I think as a parent now, I think the first thought that comes to mind is I'm fortunate not to really experience it yet. I think at 6 years old and as boys, right, emotionally and intellectually wise, they are a little bit more easy to please. You get their fun factor in and they are fine with the day. The day is great and good. But I can see it coming in where I have friends with older kids.
Right.
Already they are like, one common word that I keep learning from is the fear of missing out, FOMO. They coin new and new terms every day.
Please tell me the backstory behind this. I really want to know what happened that they made you teach FOMO.
I know, right? Now even primary one, they're like FOMOing already because they can see. And one thing I feel strongly for is I think they have too good nutrition nowadays. All our children are developing too fast. And because of that, they can see the dots. They can see all the options in their lives, journey ahead. They are also very observant. I think because we don't have as many, there are multiple reasons, but we don't have as many problems or troubles like the fundamentals of life. Like last time, the parents will be worrying about making food, putting food on the table, making enough money. Then we will be like happier with simple needs in life. Like, oh, I've got food to eat. That's good enough. I don't need to think further. But now because they have so much other free time, the kids started comparing, listening, observing, and they pick things up so fast. But the things they pick up so fast are so different from our my generation and before that. So because of that, they have all these variety of comparisons to see what they have, could have, but do not have. Then they start asking soul searching questions. Even if they don't, their friends ask them. And they're challenged to think like that. So then the word FOMO becomes such a real thing. Even now I'm feeling it. Like people will keep asking me, are you going for this event, that event, something else and something else? I realized if I didn't have a strong internal compass and filter of information myself, having built up from the last 20 years or so, I will be really lost and being tossed around by the waves. Like, oh, that looks interesting, maybe I should try. That looks also good, should I try? Everyone's going for that, maybe I should try that as well. But because I kind of know my areas of interest, I realized the sense of identity and purpose in life is always critical to kind of balance myself against all the interesting things that could be out there, such that I can filter what I actually want, what's in it for me and what's not for me. I hope as time comes, right, as the kids, my kids come to ask me each question, I will be able to take a few steps back and help them to maybe draw a thinking process. They come to their conclusion on what they want in life.
From this conversation, there's a spirit of self-awareness, Pan. I'm really happy for you because I struggle all the time. And I remember once I talked to you about, I don't know which one to choose. I had two great options for a job opportunity, and we had this conversation. I was like, I don't know, Pan, which one should I go for?
Yes.
And because things are so clear in your head and the way you think, it is so mindful that you could just articulate those things for me, that okay, this is what it is, and there's good and bad aspects of those, everything, and then the choice is yours. And the best part is you might regret making that choice, but that's okay. In life there are so many opportunities that come your way, and you go with the one that at the moment you feel like, okay, this is a good decision for me, right? And reflecting back on this book that I read, such beautiful writing. It said that there are no good decisions or bad decisions. There are only
so true,
well-informed decisions and not well-informed decisions. So it's all about, at this point, I feel this is the best thing for me to do. And when I say that to myself, I'm okay with the choices that I've made, if that makes any sense.
I love it. You're teaching me about how you come to acceptance. And I struggle, although I think you're too kind, because by the time I talk to you, right, I have gone through that struggle. But that struggle can last from days to weeks. So thank you for hearing about it.
Yeah, that's so important, because I have prayed day and night to be in this position. It is a privilege. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I did not want to let it go. And I'm so glad that I'm here and I'm meeting with all of these amazing people. And that is the reason why, even though I'm struggling, even though it's hard, even though a lot is going on and I'm exhausted, there is deep sense of gratitude.
Yes.
But yes, there are certain things I'm just not happy with, and I'm just, just venting it out to our friends. And that is important. That is the outlet.
Yes, definitely.
That we do need. Because then you realize, oh, it's not just me who's struggling. It's everyone else. It's everybody's in the same boat. And that gives me some solace. It's not that I'm enjoying, their misery, I'm having fun in their misery. No, not at all. It's just that misery, that confusion is shared. That makes me happy.
I think that makes you such a someone with deep empathy. I really like that about you.
Thank you. Yeah, so switching gears, I want to also talk about this other course that we are in together, which is a writing course. And the first class I went to, it was just me. And the class begins at 9 in the morning, and it's super chilly, super cold. And I said, you know what, I have to commit to my writing and I have to be there because I have this low confidence with my English speaking skills and my writing skills, even though I have a podcast. But it's a learning experience for me because I feel English is our second language. Even though all of my education has been in this language, I still feel that I might not be as good as people who were born and raised in America. You mentioned in the beginning of the podcast that your English is different. And I want to understand and know how much does that impact you living in a country like America? And have you internalized that gap, if at all? Yeah.
Thanks for that question. I'm still absorbing, and I was very surprised to hear that it felt similar to how I feel. I didn't realize you see English as your second language as well because you're so polished. And thank you. I didn't realize that the writing class, you were the one person at first because I joined because of the WhatsApp group chat where our classmates shared about they're thinking about one or two writing classes to polish themselves as well. That got me looking. And here we are by fate.
Yeah. So many classes together, but it's the writing course that we connected at a deeper level.
Yes,
Yeah.
Wow, I got shivers from that. Very nice. So how I feel about it was, I have classmates from China and India, like several of them, 5 to 10 of them, struggling through as well. Then how I shared with them was that I came to terms, coming to terms, I think not fully yet, is that I see as my English is Singlish. There's a lot of slang. There's a lot of, we call it rojak, whereby there's this Indian dish in Singapore, Indian. They mix all kinds of fruits and vegetables into a sauce that's become a salad. So it's a variety of different cultures. In a way, it's a celebrated language. In the past, the older generation saw proper British English or American English as the way to go. Over time, 10, 20 years later, they slowly embrace that, hey, we are a unique culture. As I arrive here, there are at least 5 to 10 other events. Someone will come up to me and just ask, are you Singaporean? I heard you from over there, like you sounded Singaporean or Malaysian. I realized that's giving us a tag or flag to our country. So then I decided not to be too embarrassed about it anymore. But that's kind of the way I am. And I think it helps me internalize this a little bit earlier and faster than some of our other new classmates is because I studied in Scotland before.
Okay.
So then I told myself after a few months of these, the Scottish farmers, you put them in any other country in the world, nobody will understand their English. They call it Gaelic and it's full of slang. But if I embrace it and I started to pick up a few Gaelic themselves, I started rolling my R's like them and I started to speak gutturally like them. Like they'll say, war, do you have any war? So then we laugh about it. And then I have so many misunderstandings with my Scottish classmates as well. But over time, we just start to see the lighter side of things. And at the end of the day, it's the heart that counts more than the exact words. We can always slow down each of the words we speak, and most of the time we'll arrive at the same destination.
So beautifully put. Thank you for sharing that, Pan. Oh my God.
You're welcome. Taught to me by the Scottish farmers.
Yeah, because I've been in the US before, but this was my first time, surrounded by young people and new people completely. I felt it was a bit daunting experience for me when, people would ask me to repeat what I said. And I believe because I grew up watching American television, I just feel that my Indian accent is not too, it's not that, how do you say it, strong?
Very polished.
Yeah, so even still then, people were like, sorry, what was that? And I just felt there's a bit of embarrassment, honestly. And one thing that really set me off was when I came to the US. I came late and I missed the orientation. I missed the fun part. And the first day I was here, the classes began immediately. And people assume that I am from anywhere but India. I remember I was having this conversation and somebody said, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And they started talking to me in Spanish.
Spanish.
And I was like, "Hola."
Wow, kudos to you.
See? But I didn't understand why they were saying that. And then I realized that, oh, they think I am, not from India or, from someplace else. And, but when I started talking, and they were like, ah, Indian. I was like, oh my God, is it that thick, my accent? And I was a bit embarrassed. And yeah, even though people are so wonderful, it's just as an international student or just someone who's not a citizen of America and who's come all this way. I would just talk about myself. I had that doubt about myself, and and having that adjustment issue. And when such things happen, they didn't happen that often. And I know that people had good intentions in their heart, but I was just internalizing those things. That how thick is my accent, and how am I actually looking, and do I not look Indian? Nobody's ever told me I don't look Indian. And somebody said, "Oh, you don't look Indian enough."
Enough.
What do you mean Indian enough? What is Indian enough? But yeah, you also share the same thing, that somebody would hear your accent and just be like, "Oh, I could hear that Singaporean accent." What is a Singaporean accent? What do you mean? Have you had an experience like this as well?
Yes, too many. So 90% would think I'm from China. And then 10% will, 20%, the extra more, right? Of the 90%, right? A portion of them will be shocked to realize that Singapore is very far away from China. Then another thing is, in Singapore, it's true over time from Scotland and here only been a few months, we sound very different because we splatter a lot of intonations. Like, these are things that add on to the flavor, but they don't mean anything in English. So for example, like, don't be like that lah, be more sporting. So it's trying to encourage your friends to not be too hung up over certain things, to let go. So la, law, le don't have meanings, but they're just sounds that add on to the tone in terms of being informal and being comfortable with friends and family, as well as it extends all the way in Singapore to colleagues, and even the top tier management sometimes lets out some of these words. So we're used to hearing them. In fact, it helps us connect one-to-one, Singaporeans wise. But here, the people get confused. And I learned from you that if Indian classmates normally is frowned upon to WhatsApp in class, they are changing themselves for me, because half the time they did say, "I talk like a machine gun, they don't understand me. It's easier by WhatsApp." No, I'm happy they talk like that.
I'm sorry, my jaw dropped. I was like, what is that mean thing to say? Yeah, so I love the fact that our cohort and Johns Hopkins is so culturally rich.
Yes.
I love it, and it has made me more patient, because I'm so comfortable with Indian accents and like Indian people and all of that, even American or English for that matter. But this was the first time I was being exposed to different accents in person, and it has made me more patient.
Yes.
Because of the compassion that I share with people, that even if it takes me 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I am going to pay full attention to what you are saying, because that's the least that I can do, and everybody deserves to be heard.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, I will do that, and I will not be bothered by, oh, I don't understand. I will try to understand, and I will ask questions, and that's just something that I do, that sense of curiosity and that respect, that I'm here to learn, and I'm here to learn not just from the classroom but also from my cohort friends. And I feel so blessed that there are so many people from different parts of the world, and they're all too kind. They don't make you feel inferior in any sense, because let's just be honest, 70% of the class is international students.
Yes.
And yeah, that is a special connection that I share with all of them.
That's so sweet of you. I realize with new eyes that that's what makes you so appealing and wonderful to others, such that they will actually open up themselves to you. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. This one question that I have for you it comes as a part of a game that I would like to play in my podcast. It's called Have You Ever? Have you ever played this game before?
I think I heard of it, and then at drinking parties and what have you.
Yep. But this is the DNM version of things.
Sober
it's the deep and meaningful version of things. Yeah, so my question to you and the listeners, because I think this is going to be the question of the week. And
Wow.
I think this is how I would also connect with my listeners. And you answer it, and I hope that my listeners also answer this question, and they can send me DMs or emails, or just text me, guys. Come on, participate. The question for this week is, Pan, have you ever stayed up at night reminiscing about your mistakes?
I haven't until Epi in summer term. So thanks to our lecture, that was the first time in my life I woke up in the middle of the night. The answer key to one question popped out in my head. I've never experienced it in my life before. I have to share it with 5 other classmates, and I told them, oh my god, I think I'm traumatized. I'm gonna find my time to kind of find where do I want to go with this Epi, and how do I want to end up. So that woke me up, literally. And because of that, right, I really struggled through with other classmates to then really excel at the end of the class. But before this incident and waking up, like really sitting upright, in the movies, right, from lying down, right, I actually sat up right in my bed at like 2, 3 a.m. and the answer key was in my head, flashing.
Is it that dramatic for you?
Yes, first time in my life. So then I learned to find a new balance, and then struggle my way through it till the end of it. And at the end of it, just confirmed my conclusion that Epi is not for me, and that's the end of it for my life. But yes, I'm glad it's not anything more serious than just one Epi exam.
Yeah. So for most part of it, you are self-aware and you have accepted things, and except for Epi and the answers. By Epi, guys, we mean epidemiology. Yes. And yep, I've had my own struggles with it, and trust me, so many times. Okay, so to answer this question for me, something that would have happened like 10 years ago, okay? Like a bully would have said something to me. I would just wake up in the night and just be like, why I didn't say anything to that person at that time? Why did it not happen to me?
Yes.
But I shared the Epi feeling as well. So it's this inner critic kind of just comes over. And I do reminisce about those things. Why did I not do this? And sometimes I have found that bully on Facebook or Instagram.
And
I've texted them, why did you say this to me? Because there's no other way, and I make bad decisions after midnight. So I'm just I text them, and they're like, what? Who are you? They don't even remember me because they were my bullies. But yeah. So, yeah. Do you take any action about that? You only have experienced it with Epi. But yeah, what was your action?
so now the true reminiscence, right? I realize I do it when I'm awake, conscious, and sober. Those things that are very valuable to me are friendships. Betrayals affect me a lot. I'll spend months to even years sometimes letting them go, coming to acceptance. I think even in secondary school, right? People whom I like, boys whom I like, I walk out to them and tell them straight, or I write a letter to them, in fact. After taking the courage to do so. I realized that a lot of times, right, at my end, I think too much, I think too deep, and I think too far. On the receiving end, a bit like those bullies, right? They'll be like, where did this come from? Right? But it took so much courage and time and preparation and effort on my part to reminiscent, how do you say it?
Reminisce.
Reminisce it, to come to terms to what I want about it, and then to do something about it. It takes so much courage to do that. And especially the friends betrayal as well. It needs I need a lot of time talking it through with different friends, thinking about it for myself, then slowly coming to equilibrium. So for those crushes, they have all ended up nicely as friendships at the end. One thing that made me write to them and tell them about it was, I don't want this to affect us negatively from here on. If it's two-way, it's great. If it's not, right, I would like to put my feelings to the grave eventually over time after that. That's how I end up being friends and continue from there. Then when others tell me, when I'm at the receiving end, right, I know better how the other side feel to then deal with it. So those are the bigger things I would say that should affect me and have affected me and help me to grow in life. The epi was absolute shock because this kind of thing normally don't faze me or it shouldn't affect me. I don't take it too hard.
Yeah, you don't wake up in the middle of the night worried
Never.
about those things. But they do bother you, and yeah, it only makes us human, you know, our emotions. But I have to say this thing, Pan. Everything does come to an end. You know, sometimes I have reacted to things too suddenly, and I've just, you know, burned the bridges with those people. And then after a few months, even years, I've realized I was too harsh, you know, and I've stayed up at night thinking about that as well, that, oh my God, I made a mistake. And, you know, I might have been too harsh, but going back to it, there are well-informed decisions and then there are not so well-informed decisions. So
That's so
yeah,
great.
I am still finding that peace,
Yes.
but I'm going to keep on making mistakes.
Yep.
But then it is going to be okay as well. Like you said that, you know, you put things to bed.
And that's how we
Eventually.
learn about the
Yeah.
calibrating. So the next time you know you may not do the same response again, you become better and better at it.
Yes, absolutely. So all my listeners out there, Pan has said some amazingly wise things about acceptance, being aware, being mindful, being grateful, and then finding a balance between all of those things. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
Wanted to end with this line that I always remind myself when bad things happen and I'm going through it. It's
Yeah.
part and parcel of life, but time heals all scars. A lot of times, I have friends going through it even now. They may not be able to reconcile with the loved ones after a bad experience or a fight or a family conflict. It may take months, it may take years, it may even take decades. But time heals all scars. If not now, we still have opportunities and chances in future. So never give up.
Absolutely, that's wonderful. Can I add to that?
Yes, please.
In my experience, I've also realized time might not heal a lot of wounds. You have to heal those wounds, you know. But with what you said, I think with time, you change as a human being. So yes, time does heal all wounds because with time you change as a person and you evolve, and that's what we mean by time, like intentional moving of time and evolving with time as well, and not just time passing in, you know, like
Passively.
yeah. So absolutely.
That's so wise. Thank you, Jasmine.
Time does heal things, and yeah, I really hope that if there are things that are keeping you up at night, if there are mistakes that you've made that you're reminiscing about, we both really hope that time does evolve and time does make things better for you. That's what we hope for all of my listeners. Yeah, so Pan, coming to the end of the podcast, I have one question that I am asking all of my guests this season. We are going to graduate soon, and I feel like it's going to come up really, really soon for us. Yeah, too soon. Do you have any goals or anything that you want to achieve before the graduation comes?
The funny thing is, normally I'll try to have like some big sounding goal, but in this year, no. And for this program, no, because it comes back to my beginning introduction, where at the start of our summer term orientation, I would like to make long-lasting friendships and have the fullest experience I can have in the US for this year. I've been doing it daily, if not term by term. Every time where there's an opportunity, again, choosing the one or two events I want to go to out of the others and why, I remember that starting point. Then I've been forming like longer lasting friendships as we go along as well. So at the end of this program, I have to go back and continue my work. The kids got to go back to school. But I really, really want to remember everyone here and this amazing culture here. So I want to experience it to the full and continue experiencing it to the full.
It's beautiful. There's this wonderful lady at the career services, and she tells me, because I'm worried about getting a job and I'm so worried about what the future is going to hold for me. I'm like, I'm a doctor and what am I doing and what is going on, and I feel like I want to transition and all of that. She tells me, Jasmine, you're going to miss the magic. If you're walking too fast, you're going to miss the magic. And I think that's exactly what you mean when you say that, you want to experience all of it. And I love that for you. Yeah, and I really hope that it is an enriching and a magical experience for you and for anyone who's listening to us. So, yeah, any last words, Pan?
Well, the locals have been telling me I'm living more locally than them, so I think I'm along the right track. I've been bringing kids to like the local amusement park, the local like secret parks and secret places that only the locals know about. So we'll continue doing that.
Yeah, so the magic is happening, and I'm so happy for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for listening to me.
Of course, it's a privilege, and I'm sure that my listeners share that emotion. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here, Pan. And to my listeners, have a wonderful day and be kind to each other. Take care.